is Gabe. That's my mom. This is
Addison.
yeah, and that's her mom.
It was just like Addison.
Okay, so we are True North Youth Book Club.
Yeah.
Okay, so who wants to talk about what our book club is?
James, you
So,
know most of it.
Basically, this book club was made after
During
During
COVID, and it was just we were reading books and talking about them, but we would cover topics like communism and different things like that, and so
or or like society rules
Yeah.
or
right, or we would
hard
talk
topics.
about things like that, and well,
we just wanted to kind of.
share
It's
that
just
with the
been
entire
us right now.
world. But we won't. With like, we just wanted to share it with the entire world, so we decided, hey, why don't we make a podcast?
Yeah, Gabe decided he thought it would be a good idea to have the experience of doing a podcast, but also because we were experiencing some really great stuff. And that's kind of how James and I started. We were experiencing some really great stuff, so we wanted to bring everybody in. And Gabe feels that way too.
Yes.
So he wants to make sure that we are kind of showing the kids what it's like so they don't feel kind of silly coming in here also. Right. Okay. All right, so we are planning, we'll see how this podcast goes, and if it goes well, then we will continue the podcast through June until, I think our last one's going to be July 1st, and we're going to break from July 4th all the way to August 15th, and our first one back will be August 19th. And we're going to, we've already read, name some books that we've already read, guys. What
To
have we
Kill a
read, Addison?
Mockingbird.
Hunger Games.
Hunger Games. What else?
All three of the Hunger Game books.
Yeah.
2 of the Giver books.
Well, what about Of Mice and Men?
Mice and
What
Men,
else, Addison?
Coraline, Maze
Amazing.
Runner, Tuck Everlasting. And that's really it. That's all we did.
Tuck
Of Mice
Everlasting.
and Men.
We've read, look, guys, and we've read, since COVID started, we've read
Oh, Summer of the Swan.
Oh yeah, Summer of the Swans.
Trumpet of the Swan.
Trumpet of the Swan.
Animal Farm.
Animal Farm.
Did we do
There are
Lord of the
others that
Flies?
I'm missing. We have not done Lord of the Flies, but we will. We did The Great Gatsby. It wasn't a big hit, but we did it.
It wasn't good.
I think that's it. I think that's all.
But you know, so we have read a book every 2 to 3 weeks since COVID started, and we have not had a break. So it's going to be odd for us to have a break.
Yeah, and when we get on that break, we're gonna be like.
But the reason I
We have
decided,
book
I know we're going to be bored, aren't we?
Yeah, we're gonna be like, do we have book club?
The reason
Why not?
I decided, I made the executive decision, I didn't ask anybody, but I made the executive decision to have a break is because I think a lot of the kids don't want to join because they feel like they're coming in halfway. They don't want to come in the middle of something. So this will give them a chance to pick up new kids if they want to start.
Yes.
That way you guys don't feel lonely.
We don't feel lonely.
I'm always alone.
So we read The Giver. So what we're going to go through in May and June is The Messenger, which is the 3rd Giver book, and which that's what we're going to talk about today. And Son, which is the 4th Giver book. We just read Gathering Blue, and we've also read, I don't have my Giver book, but we read The Giver. The Giver is also a movie.
Yes.
So if you want to know what we're reading or what it's like, we're going to talk about it a little bit today so you can see. But what we're going to talk about is this in May, and we're going to talk about this in June. Right? Okay. So anybody want to talk about, Addison, tell us what is the premise of The Giver? What happens?
It's about, they're like in this like village thing, and these people do odd things. And then there's Thomas, and he gets a name when he's 12, what he's going to do when he grows up, and he got a special thing. And so it was memories. And so he got back with this older man who was also a giver and was being trained, but then he escaped with his brother, and we don't really know what happened to him.
That's a good summary. So yeah, and so this society is different though. So he's the old man is the giver. This guy is the receiver. Jonas, not Thomas.
Yeah,
right?
there's
Jonas. That's his name.
Yeah, the receiver of memory.
He's the receiver of memory, and so only one guy remembers their history, and they do that so they can remember that certain things cause famine, famine or war or bad things to happen. So why? So the idea of the giver. Let's talk about that. The idea of the giver is why does trauma happen? Why do wars happen? Tell me why wars happen, Gabe.
Something starts, and then people think they need to go to war to end this.
So it's an emotional thing.
Yes.
Well, what is another reason people go to war?
A certain strife. For example, someone were getting a fight about something, about food or something like what's happening in Ukraine right now. They're fighting over land. They want Ukraine, but Ukraine already took it, so they have to fight over it. So they find that war is the only solution.
So they're saying, in the giver, they talk about war being like war, or that everything can be solved. Like, why do kids get abused? Why do wives get abused? All those things happen because of emotions and bad emotions, jealousy or anger. And they say, wouldn't the world be better if we didn't have any of those? So they start to remove their feelings. So you can't say something like, hey, I almost died getting here today.
Precision of language.
Precision of language is what they would say.
Yeah.
They would say, oh, you wouldn't say you didn't almost die. That would be figurative language.
I was almost harmed.
Yeah, so you understand figurative language better because of that book. I was almost harmed getting here today. I almost was in a wreck. Then that would make more sense then, because that's the 100% truth. But in taking out their emotions,
it takes their soul almost. It makes it to where they're not even alive.
It makes it
or
to
they
where
have
they're
no
robotic.
reason to live.
Makes it to where they're robotic and they really have no expression.
robotic is a good adjective.
I feel like it's just like they're soulless and they have no reason to live. So
But
it sucks the reason to live.
But maybe not just the reason to live, maybe the sanctity of life. It takes the sanctity of life away, because then if they're not perfect, they don't fit into this society. So if you have a hurt arm, or if you are not perfect at birth, they release you.
Yeah.
And they talk about that. Yes. I think a lot of people would be released. I don't know that I would have made it, because when I was a baby, I had meningitis, so they probably would have just let me go.
What is meningitis?
It's a baby thing that babies get sometimes, meningitis.
James said meningitis.
I had it within 2 days of my birth, so I would have been let go. A lot of people.
There's a lot of problems with many people because people aren't perfect.
Yeah, no, there's like probably only 25% of the births that are perfect. That don't have any problems.
That's what they're looking for.
They want perfection.
There might not be a lot of people in the village because they kill so many people.
So we're gonna get to that. So let's talk about, and so the giver ends with Jonas decides, and he's getting all of these emotions. So he's allowed to feel emotion, and he goes, wait a second, I feel love, I feel anger, I love this feeling, and he tries to talk to other people about it, and they don't understand.
Because they don't have them.
Because they don't have them. So then they when they are going through it, it's in the movie, it's a little bit different in the book, right? In the book, the giver is Jonas decides, and the giver helps him to leave. But in the movie, it almost seems like the giver set it up so that he can leave. So I don't know which one I like better, but it doesn't matter, and it doesn't change the storyline of the book. We'd also do a lot in this group of read the book, watch the movie.
Yes.
And we like that a lot. So we do have movie nights also. Do you want to talk about our movie nights?
I have an idea for movie night. How about we stream that as well?
We're not going to stream y'all playing and watching a movie. But that's what happens, right?
Right.
Okay.
We watch a movie.
We'll watch a movie. We watch the movie and we enjoy ourselves because we've done so much hard work.
Right.
So.
Yeah, the movie, this is kind of like, this is where we don't goof off, but we still do. And
we goof off, but we make fun of it, and we kind of compare and contrast the book to the movie the whole time. So the whole time, it's not even like we really get to watch the movie. We're like, that's not what happened! And we decide if we really like that. Has there any movies that you liked better than the book?
I feel like I liked
the Hunger Games more than the book.
Yet.
Yeah. Oh, Coraline, that's another one we did. So I think we started this group. Oh, we did Maze Runner too.
Yeah, we forgot Maze Runner.
So yeah, we started this group as a band book club.
Watch Great Gatsby.
Yeah, well, we're gonna do a movie night before this is over. Move on.
Yes.
All right, so The Giver. Let's talk about Gathering Blue. What happened in Gathering Blue? I feel like this one was kind of a go-between book. It was
kind of
just
explaining the lore behind it.
It was good though. I
It
mean,
was
sometimes when you read a book that is like just explaining stuff, it's like ugh. Like the Narnia series. You guys read the Narnia series? The second book of the Narnia series, or it's the magician's son or nephew or
His
something.
nephew.
Oh man,
That
I
book
had a
was
hard time.
really boring.
It was laying out some stuff, and it was like
But it
I
was,
was so
way
boring.
too like boring. It
like, and if you got to the third book, it was pretty good. But it's just the middle of the go-between. But this was a pretty good go-between book. I liked it.
I feel like this is a really good book because it explained it better.
It explains
than most
a
books.
lot.
Because
more.
most books will go, here's the beginning, so it'll hook you in. The middle will explain a little bit about the book, and then the end will show you everything you need to know. I feel like The Giver was showing what you need to know, which is a lot more than what they want you to know.
Yeah, and it still leaves The Giver, kind of leaves it on a cliffhanger. So
Yeah,
the movie leaves it really good. You don't even really know in the movie if he lives or dies. You really don't even know.
You don't really know in the book either.
You don't really know in the book either. So, but the movie kind of leaves it so where you could leave it like that,
Yeah.
and you'd be like, okay, you were affected by it, and you can move on. But in the when you read the book, you really want to read the next one.
Yes.
So, tell me about the Gathering Blue. What does Gathering Blue mean, Gabe?
They're
They're trying to find blue.
Blue what?
Blue color, because
Yeah, okay, and color has something to do in these books, doesn't it?
yeah,
Okay, so in The Giver, the first thing that he experiences when he stops taking
red.
the pills that suppress his emotions is red. And so this book, and so he sees, what does he see first? Do you
Red.
remember? Red what?
Hair.
Was it the apple or the hair?
I think it was the hair.
It was the apple. It was the apple, and then he feels hair, sees the hair, because then it was the apple when Asher tosses him the apple, and then he sees the hair when he starts to feel love with Fiona.
Oh yeah.
yeah, which is in like the middle of the book.
Right.
Another thing is, I don't think they can feel, taste, or touch.
I don't know.
No.
I think they just don't. There's
don't
no
think they can
emotion
taste.
attached to the touch, so it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Right?
So what about taste?
When I hug somebody that I don't know and I hug my son, it's a lot different.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So, Gathering Blue is about finding a blue dye.
For the singer's cloak.
For the singer's robe.
Who is the singer, Addison?
I don't think they expressed
Joe or Joe.
Well, I mean, what does he do? So in these books, everybody kind of has a title, right? You have the giver, the receiver. This is the singer. What does the singer do?
Oh, that's he has to be chained and he has to walk.
Well, we find out at the end he is chained. He's not doing it of his own free will. He has to do it. She?
Yeah, Joe's a girl.
Well,
No,
Joe-
that's the new singer.
yeah.
Joe's
Oh, right,
the
right,
new
right.
singer.
Yeah, there's a new singer. So everybody has these kind of, it's almost like superpowers.
Yeah.
Kind of a little bit, but it's more like okay, so let's say you're really good at teaching. They would be so good at teaching that it's like clockwork for them.
Right, and that nobody else was as good.
Exactly.
Right, so it would be clear that that person was supposed to do that thing. So the singer is the best singer ever. And so his job is to what, Addison?
Sing.
Sing, but what's the song?
The singer's
Oh,
song.
the whole. Yeah.
It is the singer's song, but what is it?
It's the whole story of the village.
Yeah, it's
Of
it's-
the
Of
village.
the
So
song.
this is a different village.
Something
And
I
then
find
after the same thing. So this is a post-apocalyptic world where they have damaged the earth or society and or both.
Or I felt like they might have nuked it, and now they're like living off of it, and they've created a society where
Yeah,
They
this is where they're successful in society, but the world has ended.
Yes.
So so the singer and the giver are similar, where they keep all the memories of everybody. Okay, except that the giver they were secretive about those memories because they wanted to control the masses.
Mhm.
And in this book,
they let them have it.
you just
They
But
let them
it's
have
way
it.
too much.
it's too much. So this book was all about the feeling, there was no emotion in the first book. This book is all the emotion. Feel all the bad things.
Yeah.
The kids, they're very harsh. They're hard with their kids. They beat their kids.
They let them eat oleander, which is like a.
Well, it's a poison. Yes, they let them eat. They do not let them eat oleander. But they said, why didn't they really remove the oleander so the toddlers can't get to it? And they said, well, that's how I learned. When I picked up the oleander, my mom smacked me, and that's how I learned not to touch the oleander. It's kind of like, let them stick their finger in the light socket. They won't do that again. But it's
they'll
like
die.
it's like the harshest that you can think of being. The harshest that you can think of being. And so
This is kind of like parents. Like maybe just a tiny bit.
well, parents have a lot to do with society. They do. They have a lot. They're raising the people that are in it.
Like there's some that are way too not hands-on, who will do everything for their child.
We're not going to judge parents.
I'm not
but look,
judging them. I'm just
so
saying
look.
there's these parents.
There are. They exist. So, Lois Lowry is the writer of these books, and she wrote Number the Stars. And Number the Stars is a really good book.
What is that?
Can you read it?
We've already read it. We've already read it.
Yeah.
We didn't read it in this group, but me and you have read it.
I haven't read it.
We did. We have not read it.
Can we read it in the book club? I don't
I think
remember.
everybody's read it. I'll let you read it on your own. It's a quick book. It doesn't take a long time, but it talks about World War II.
Oh.
The Number of the Stars are the Jewish stars. So she has a big to do with communism. She wants to talk about society. So that's it's got those kind of undertones in these books. So Katrina's our main character in this book. Kara.
It's
Kira. Katrina is her mother who dies in the beginning. And Kira has a power. Her power is
Sewing or knitting, really good.
You two be quiet, because that's not what it is.
I'm not. I get it.
It's embroidery. It's kind of like sewing. It is different. They said it was knitting last time.
Look, sit up, James. Sit up.
Oh, yeah.
Embroidering is that.
That's what she's doing.
No, she's sewing.
She's sewing the singer's robe. She's repairing it.
Yeah, she's sewing it, repairing it.
I think she's also embroidery. I think she does repair, but she also does embroidery on it.
Yeah, but she's...
Why would she need special colors to put in it?
To sew in it.
How would that work? Okay, if you've never sewn, I know you can't understand, but
so look, see that? Say I wanted to put a blue patch there.
Oh, you think she's patching it?
Yeah.
But with embroidered patchwork.
Yeah.
Okay, so so we're gonna agree it is a patch that she embroiders and then she sews it on.
Yes.
Okay. Still embroidery though. Okay. So
What the heck?
so her mother has a garden and her mother dies in the book.
Yeah, they had to burn down their house because they think it's contagious.
Right. So they're like the harshest results you can think of. That family lives in kind of the slums. And then they have the slums, and then if you have a gift, your parents die.
Because of the beast.
The beast and it's kind of like this book it's almost like they took this book, the idea for this book, and made the movie called The Village. Which is like it's by M. Night Shyamalan. It doesn't say that. They don't say that, but we made that connection that it's like The Village is kind of has the same premise. There is no beast. The beasts are the elders who take the parents and say, "Oh, they got
Why
got
did you
by
go like
beasts."
this to the parent?
Because take the parents.
Oh.
And they take the parents, and then they tell them that the beast got them, and then they take the kids and they take them to this great, beautiful place that has running water, and they've never seen running water. Yeah. So they don't even know what they're like. Why I got to go down to the river to wash? And he's like, "No, you've got water in your room." They're like, "Why would you?"
Where's the hole to use the bathroom?
Yeah.
No, seriously, that's what she said.
Yeah.
Where's the hole to use the bathroom? Where's the stream?
Right. So we have all these people. We have the Carver, Thomas. That's where you got the name Thomas.
Yeah.
Thomas the
Thomas,
Carver.
Kira.
And Kira. And then we have Joe, who is very young and just lost her mother, and she's going to be the new singer. At the end of the book, the singer comes up. She's been searching for Gathering Blue this whole time, and Matthew, who is one of the peasant boys, Matt has, and they have syllable names. So if you are between certain ages, your name is only one syllable. So my name would have been Dawn. And then as I was teenager, youth, 20 to 25, I would have been Donna. And then Donna Ling Along Long. And would have been my name at the end of my life. What is it? Donnalina. I would have been Donna Lynn. Donnalina as the older I got. So if you have a 4-syllable name, you are older.
Yeah, you're the oldest.
Gabriel, and he would be Gabrielle when he was.
Yeah. And then he would be Gabriella.
I hate when people call me that.
I'm just playing. Okay.
I would be James.
You would be Jam.
James
is your first one syllable.
James.
Oh, James is one syllable. James.
Jamie.
Jamie's son.
Jamie's son.
Okay.
So you would be the person who
you would be
murdered.
Addie. Addison.
Jameson's
Lee.
So
Addison Lee.
So the idea is that you would get all the way to a 4-syllable name and then you would stop.
Yeah. So something in the new book I realized is Matt.
Wait. So we'll get to Matt. So Matt meets people and he decides he's going to go help her to find. He's leaving his mom because his mom is harsh with him and she's abusive. And all of them are abusive. All of the parents are abusive because they think it toughens them up for the world.
But this mom is really good at abusing children.
so
like it's a sport or something.
Yeah, so she is very abusive, and so they go try to find Matt, the old Thomas the carver, and Kira, the patchwork lady, the sewer.
The sewer.
So she doesn't have a name. I just noticed.
She does
fixer.
No,
does she have a name?
Yeah,
oh, Gertrude or.
I mean, I'm saying like they have the carver, Thomas the carver. Joe is going to be the new singer, but what is she? The fixer?
The fixer, I guess.
The dyer. Oh, her mother was a dyer.
Oh, yeah.
So they make dyes from things that are in their garden. Mm-hmm. But her mother dies, so they have to bring the stuff there. But she never learned to dye, and that's how to dye blue. And there's nobody has blue, so the whole book is about trying to find the color blue. Matt ends up finding the color blue at the end.
And then a random guy. Right?
And it's a flower. And then the book ends.
No.
How does the book end?
Not a blue flower. He brings a piece, like a scrap off here from a random guy with a blue shirt.
Yes, he does. That he found in the woods, in the forest. Right?
Oh,
he found
I thought
a new
it was a
village.
flower. I forgot it was
No, it's a little blue patch.
He said, I've traveled through the forest, and because the lady who did the dye said there be no beasts, because she was older, so she knew that they had enacted something new. And so Matt gets the courage to go out in the woods and go find this other civilization that has the woad flower that makes blue and brings back the blue dye.
And then just a random guy. And then like later, like the very last page, we figure out the last couple pages, we figure out that guy is Kira's dad.
Right.
Then they go back to the village and see somebody with blue eyes.
Yeah, so the last part says, so you will have blue threads. Yeah, blue eyes. Yeah. And so what does that imply?
So in the Giver, there was 2 people with blue eyes, Jonas and Gabriel.
Right.
So in
Gabe was a baby.
Yes.
That Jonas's dad was taking care of.
Yes.
And he was having a hard time with life. They were going to release him, but his dad was not giving up on him. And so, which meant to release. So his dad was not giving up on him, and he said, no, we'll take him home. And so Jonas figures out how to calm Gabe is to give him memories. So he can give him the memories. It's he can put his hands on him. Yeah, because they have
2 dots. And because the Giver, Jonas, and Gabe, and the Giver's dead daughter, Rosemary, they all have these dots on their forearms.
Right, and so they're born with them. So it's kind of a magical quality put into the story, which makes it kind of superpowerish. And so Gabe, he makes Gabe stop crying by giving him happy memories and things like that, so that he can, and he soothes him that way. Yes. So at the end, he takes Gabe and says, I'm not getting rid of this baby. I love him, and I'm taking him with me. And he leaves, on how does he leave?
On a motorcycle.
On a motorcycle. So
No, he it's not. It's technically illegal to have contact with like this. It's illegal to do this.
Right.
But then at the end, he punches Asher, one of his closest friends, just to get out.
Right.
He gets Gabe.
Asher
'Cause
was
that's-
trying to stop him.
Yeah,
Right.
he gets Gabe because Gabe was about to get released the next day. Gets Gabe, hops on his bike, gets a motorcycle, then rides on that, and they're trying to chase him. And then he jumps off the cliff. And then he's continuing, trying to get past the barrier of memories.
Right. So once he leaves the barrier of memories, everybody gets their memory back. The memories that he has gotten. So he leaves, finds a new place, and he thinks they're still pursuing him. And so he finds a place that the giver had given him in memory. So
The
that's going back to
cabin.
the first book. So in this book, let's talk about this book because we got about 20 minutes left. Let's talk about there are 21 chapters in this book, and we're going to do 5 chapters each time that we talk about it. This is what our book clubs are usually like. So we're giving you history, but now we're going to talk about the messenger. All right, so tell me about the
I
messenger.
want to talk about it.
Okay, but start slow. Don't give everything away.
So how we start is we find these two characters, Maddie and the seer. The seer is like his father figure because his mother abused him. So I feel like this might be Matt because there's a lot of
No, it is Matt.
It is Matt. They talk about he buried his dog Branch.
Yeah.
Yes, and we don't know that in the beginning. Yes.
Something just to quote on Matt. This kind of ties into this book. Later in this book, Matt. So Branch, his dog, got ran over by a cart. Somehow magically, when Matt came over to Branch and just kind of touched him, Branch somehow magically got better.
What book did that happen in?
The
Gathering Blue. That's right. So Matt has a healing power.
Why didn't he heal Branson?
Oh, here's something that we didn't. But he did from old age, I think, in this book.
Yeah, he does.
So it's something we didn't talk about in this book is that Kira has a hurt leg, and her mother fought for her to live, and she should have been put away in the fields, but she didn't get put away in the fields. So Kira has a hurt leg. Okay, so the hurt leg is a big factor in this because you have to be perfect in the giver and this one. And in the end, Matt, the place that he gets the woad flower from is a village of people who are different. So they're people who've been left out in the field and
To
people
die.
to die
Because
the beast got
beast
them. But really, somebody from another village is coming to get them and nurse them back to health.
Maybe they actually think it's a beast.
They do think it's a beast in the Gathering Blue book.
I thought they knew.
No, only
Only
Kira
the-
knows. Only Kira knows in the Gathering
Kira,
Blue.
Branch, and the others know.
Branch is a dog.
Branch-
I
is a
know,
dog. He means
whatever,
Matt.
Matt.
All right, so in the beginning, they're cooking with the seer.
And the seer, he's cooking fish, which is
So only in the 3rd page he says, I wouldn't trade for a kiss, the blind man suggested. He goes, don't joke about the trading. And we don't know what trading is yet, even in chapter 5. So trading is a big deal. And some families do it and some families don't. This group is a bunch of people who are not perfect. The seer is blind. Okay,
Which
these are
is
people who
Kira's
are
dad.
introvert.
The seer is Kira's dad.
Is Kira's dad?
Yep.
Okay.
So, anyways, can I talk?
Yes.
I forgot what happens next.
Okay,
Go
well
ahead.
then let's move on. Okay, so trading is a big deal. Were you scared of Forrest? No, it's all an illusion, is what the seer says. It's an illusion. And he says, maybe Matt thought everything was an illusion to a man who had lost his eyes. So he doesn't believe that. So the school teacher has a birthmark on his face. Okay. He says he found himself staring at the man. He had never known anyone to have such a mark. Where Maddie had come from, flaws like that were not allowed. People were put to death for less. So it's kind of leading us into that this is the guy. But in here in the village, marks and failings were not considered flaws at all. They were valued. Okay. So he has a friend named Ramon, and Ramon's family has traded, and they got a gaming machine.
And
what is it?
It's a gumball machine.
Yeah, we thought, and I thought it was this game is so much fun. And he goes, oh, and towards the end we find out it's
a gumball.
It's a gumball machine.
And sometimes it's got these sour candies. And
No. It's kind of like the slot machine. It spins.
Oh yeah.
And you try and line up the things.
Maybe
and it spits out a little
something
piece of
like
candy.
that. Yeah.
Gambling.
It spits out like that big of a piece.
Sometimes he wondered what they had sacrificed for the gumball or for the gaming machine, but he never asked. And so Maddie is a message guy. He takes messages from the leader of their group to somebody else, and he lives with Seer, and he meets with leader sometimes. And
which leader is Jonas?
Leader is Jonas. That's what I was going to tell you. The leader is Jonas, the first guy.
I didn't know.
In the museum they have his transportation vehicle. How he got here is
and they have a red sled, and the red sled is from the memory in the first book that seemingly he said it's become a symbol of power here.
So where's Gabe?
Gabe is, if you missed it, I'll go through it in a minute. So lying and morality, lying was wrong. They have a very strong sense of morality here, where in the other place, morality was based on what was right for the group. So it wasn't lying if I said that I'm releasing this infant. I really didn't know what death was. It's about 100% truth. And he says he didn't know. Matt also said he did not know how he knew how to get through the forest. He just did, and he was like he just knew.
Yes.
They had been terrible deaths, bodies brought out strangled by vines or branches that reached out malevolently around the throats and limbs of those who decided to leave village. So we kind of get that same feeling like they're being controlled by either a lie or something, some magical power, and we don't know which. Messenger is the name that he wants to have.
And it's usually a lie.
Okay, talk about the frog.
So
in the beginning, we only hear that he found a frog and he was amazed by it. What happens with the frog, Addison? Tell me about the frog. Do you remember?
It had the leg that was ripped off, and he thought, "Oh, poor frog."
No, it wasn't ripped off. It was kind of just like there.
Dangling. Yeah.
It was just kind of.
He was like, "Poor frog." And then the frog died. So he started burying it. And he had it in his hand, and he tried to put it in the hole, but it was stuck to him. And then it started hurting, lightning, and it felt like lightning to him. And then the leg got better somehow.
No. He finally, this frog twitches, and then it falls off of his hand.
Oh yeah.
And then the frog croaks.
So he is. What I noted when I read that, and I don't know where it's at, but when I read about what happened to the frog, in the beginning we just know there is a frog and he's amazed by it. When the frog is healed, he has a healing power. And he's amazed that it's this power that he has, that he healed the frog, and all of a sudden the frog jumps off and he's like, whoa. So
he amputates the frog's leg.
No, he was going to, and then he couldn't do it because by the time that he had done it, he held him, and the lightning happened, and then the frog was better. So the when I noted that, he was just going to go, okay, well, I'm just going to take the leg off and I'm going to bury you, and that's better for you. So what I noted about that was, even though he was in a better society, he reverted back to what he had been raised in. He reverted back to, okay, well, tough love, best thing you can do is do this, right? He reverted to tough love, and that's kind of like people, where people will revert to what they know, even if they know what's truth, right? So you have to kind of sometimes overcome that stuff. Gatherer tried to go back, but it had been too long, and what happened to him? He got entangled. What does entangled mean?
Wrapped around
with
the forest.
Yeah, the forest attacked him, and Matt said he had never been warned that the forest warns you not to leave, and he had never been warned. And it's a poke or a prick. Really, it's probably just them running into trees, right? Okay, like you but walk through the forest and like something smacks you, right?
Yeah.
So it's really probably them. He wanted to go tell his new wife had a baby, and he wanted to go tell her family in another village that the baby had been born, And the forest always gave warnings, is what Matt said. A sudden painful puncture from what had seemed a tiny twig, but he couldn't see any of it, though later he himself had felt it come forward and had perceived it with the kind of knowledge that made people designate Seer as his true name. Yeah. So Maddie had seen the twig grow, expand, sharpen, aim, and stab. That was no question. There was a warning. Maddie had never been warned. And he says later on, you were born in the village. It's only for those who try to go back to some place they left before. So the one guy says, I've never been warned. He goes, oh, it's because you live here. Then we meet Gabe. We see in the schoolhouse, Mentor, the school teacher, gently tutoring a mischievous 8-year-old named Gabe, who had neglected his studies to play and now needed help. That's the only sentence we hear about Gabe. Okay, but we know the name Gabe from the Giver book.
You were cared about so much.
All right, the museum. So he's going to see the leader, and we get the museum held the remains of a broken sled in a glass case. When the inscription explained that it had been the leader's arrival vehicle. The blind man's history was told there too, how he had been carried near dead from the place where enemies had left him with his eyes torn out. And I did not make the connection, and that was Kira's father. But now I remember that's what happened. In the museum glass case, there were shoes and canes and bicycles and a wheelchair. Okay, so I also see in here, I wrote love, 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 love. So they're saying, grieve gently, good fishing. He's feeling love towards these people. And this is the leader's thoughts, right? So he's saying, he could feel the woman rocking her infant and mourning her husband. Grieve gently, he thought. And he's talking about rest in peace, he thought, to the gatherer's family. He's feeling love towards these people, and you get that feeling, which we have not had in the Giver or the Gathering Blue. There's not been any feeling of emotion through any of these.
Except with Jonas.
Yeah.
That's the only feeling, emotion that they have.
Right.
Well, not all of them have feeling, emotion. But Jonas is the main big feeling.
Right. Maddie says that he wants a gaming machine. We had a gaming machine. He's trying to convince Seer. And Seer goes, oh, we're reading this book and I don't really like it. It's Moby Dick. It's really slow, and it is really slow. Yeah. He says you could get a peppermint or a sour ball from this thing. It's so it's exciting. The extreme excitement of pulling a handle, watching sour balls spit forth from a mechanical device. And that's when we find out that it's just like a gumball machine or something silly. You know, when a candy, a bell rings and colored lights blink. So yeah, maybe okay. So they trade, and don't forget that they traded for that gaming machine. It probably came at a high cost. And Matt starts to ask about the next trading. I thought this part was really poetic. Okay. So we're on the end of 3. It says, there were so many such places. Sometimes hearing the stories, remembering his own childhood. Matty was astounded. At first, having found his way to the village, he had thought his own brutal beginnings, a fatherless hovel for a home, a grim, defeated mother who beat him and his brother bloody, were unusual. But now he knew that there were communities everywhere, sprinkled across the vast landscape of the known world, in which people suffered, not always from beatings and hunger the way he had, but from ignorance. From not knowing, from being kept from knowledge. And I thought that was really cool because I made the connection to you guys also, that you guys want to impart that knowledge that you guys are getting onto other people. So there's the allegory of the cave. Anybody heard of the allegory of the cave?
Yeah.
It's from Plato. Plato is an ancient Greek philosopher. And he said basically that... what he said was that here's what life is like, that everybody is tied up in a cave. No. Everybody's tied up in a cave and their arms are tied up and they're looking at the wall. And there's a fire behind them, but there's people walking between the fire. We watched it in this group. There's people walking between the fire and them. And they see the shadows on the wall and they say, oh, that's a person and that's a dog and that's a book. And they don't really think the shadows are the real people. So then one day, one of them gets loose and turns around, and he can see everybody. And he says, oh, wait, there's really people back here. And they go, oh, yeah, okay. And so he goes, okay, well, I'm just going to go out. So he goes out of the cave, and the first thing he sees is the sun is blinding. It's hard for him to get oriented. And he looks at a flower, and he sees beauty. Okay, so he sees a beautiful flower, and he goes, that's real. I can feel that. And so then he goes to the river, and he looks down in the river, and he sees his reflection, and he goes, that's truth. He doesn't say that's truth, but that's what the original philosophers wanted. They wanted to find beauty, truth, and goodness. Okay, so then at the end, he looks up at the sun and he says, "This is goodness. This is good. I like this. I feel good." And so he wants to tell everybody what he's experienced, and he runs back to the cave and he goes, "Hey, look at all this stuff I've seen. It's so amazing. It's so cool." And they go, "Man, you're crazy. I can't believe, what are you talking about? I can't believe that what are you talking about? That's crazy. These shadows on the wall, they're real things. Look at this guy. He's so stupid." And that's what you guys are experiencing, right? That you guys have so much to talk about and nobody talked about it too. So that's what I thought was really cool. And this book is all about from not knowing, from being kept from knowledge, about kind of being controlled. He believed in leader and the leader's insistence that all the village citizens, even the children, read, learn, participate, and care for one another. So Maddie studied and did his best.
Miss Donna.
Yes.
So we don't know what they're trading for.
Mm-mm.
We just know that it's a trade fest, and it might be money. It might be, honestly, anything.
Yeah, well, we don't know. I think, so we're talking about, I do think that it's something, I think it's something we'll get to it. I'll talk about it in a second. So you're relearning, you're learning honesty. I'm sorry to punish you, but the village is about is a population of honest and decent people, and I want you to be one of us. So he's relearning honesty, goodness, and I wrote in here fairness, love, gentleness, care, and kindness. He has a fair punishment, and that is that he can't do something he wants to do. The fair punishment is, and so he really didn't even want to go to school and have his lessons that day. He was like, fine, but then when he couldn't have it, he realized how much it stung. He goes, "Are you going to beat me?" He goes, "No, I'm going to take away this." And it was something, he was like, okay, cool. Then we find out that the leader's probably the receiver. And I also wrote that the receiver the receiver's whole place is filled with, the museum is filled with books. And he gives the books to people who he wants. So he is not about holding knowledge. He is about giving knowledge out. And he also wants people to know history, which I put a check mark. This is the first time people have wanted their people to know about history. Matt liked that about the leader, that you could say what you wanted to him and that you could tell him what you felt. Emotion, I wrote. Perspective. Yes, I know it still takes days, but it doesn't seem to take as far as long. So he says, we're maybe out of fish in this village. And he says, I don't know. When I was younger, it seemed like we had a lot more fish, but maybe it was because I'm younger and everything took longer. He said, now there doesn't seem to be as many, but maybe it's because I was just a little boy back then when the fish seemed endless. So I talked about, in this one, I was thinking about perspective. James.
Sorry.
I was thinking about perspective. So perspective is like, so Matt was smart enough to understand that my perspective as a young person may be different than my perspective as an older person. I think that's an important message too.
So I think he might be, I'm thinking about how old he might be, and I feel like he might be about your age.
Maddie, he's 2 syllables. He gave himself a second syllable because he was Matt in the first book.
I
and
think he's
Maddie.
like a teenager now.
So he says, what's wrong with trading? And he says, not enough housing. He said, it's selfishness. And he says, Maddie was startled. Village had been created out of the opposite, selflessness.
Oh,
and the mentor wants to close the border.
Yeah, so they're trying to be selfish and keep everybody in.
Right.
And then the trade fest, I think, is just going to add to the selfishness.
The trade market. Trade market?
I think it's trade fest.
Maybe.
Something.
All right, at the end of 4, let's get to the end of 5. In the end of 4, it says, he goes, no, a gaming machine, says Matt, laughing a little. And at the end, the seer says, it's much more than just a gaming machine. And I think that's foreshadowing. I think they're foreshadowing something that's going to happen, something that we're supposed to know.
So we were supposed to go through 5.
Yeah,
5.
we're going to finish. Did you do 5?
No.
I'm not sure.
I read 2-5.
You read 2-5?
I think I read 2-5 too.
All right. So all I'm going to say is that in 5, I'm not going to go too far. No, you had to have read 5 because you read the frog. The frog's in 5.
Oh.
Okay. All right. So I think that the trades are not just trades, but he's saying, of course, there were other kinds of trades Maddie knew. Okay, so some of them
we read
traded
that.
a decorated fringe sofa for the foolish young couple down the road traded for. Of course, there were other kinds of trades Maddie knew that he didn't fully understand. He had heard murmurs about them. There were trades for things you didn't see. Those were the dangerous trades. I think that's going to be like bribery.
Yeah.
Some kind of corruption within the
I
society.
think I know what it's like. It's like kind of like the market right now. Like there's some people who will say they have something and they won't give it to you.
Okay, yeah,
It's
make
just
it look.
scamming. That's just scamming.
It is though, but that's what a lot of this is. I think the point's going to be maybe that there's going to be corruption in any society that we're in.
No matter how good it is.
Yeah. Oh, here it is. This is where the frog is. So then there are 2 dogs that he wants to have a new dog because his dog Branch died in the beginning of the book. We hear that.
Oh yeah, the girl that said, trade me something and I'll kiss you or whatever.
Yeah.
Said like,
School teacher's daughter.
I'll give you a dog.
And she goes, oh, I'll give you a puppy. But then all the puppies die except for one. And the puppy's sick. And he wants to help the puppy. Puppy's sick and so is the mother.
So Matt knows she has the healing power. So
Right.
they send the mentor's daughter off to get these herbs that will help the puppy.
Right.
And then Maddie just touches the dog and it comes back to life.
Right.
Or,
But
like,
he
gets
feels
better.
Yeah, but he feels sick afterwards. He doesn't feel good.
He feels woozy.
He feels woozy. And so he feels sick. So he's happy the seer's not there because he says seer would know. Seer would know about it. So he feels sick and he goes, why is it so much worse with the frog or worse than the frog? And it's because it was 2 big dogs. And that's where we're at. Does anybody have anything else to add?
Yes.
Okay.
So when she comes back with everything, she's like, the next day, wow, those herbs did really work. And then Maddie's like, yeah, they did.
Here's the thing. They're not allowed to lie. Right? So Maddie has already broken a rule. They're not allowed to lie. They're not supposed to lie. They have a very strong morality. So he's got a secret and he's lying. So that's going to be probably a conflict.
I think the secret is frowned upon. I think lying is you're in trouble.
Well, I think that they're less legalistic than the other. The other ones, they would kill you for breaking a rule,
Yeah.
right? And this one, I think they're less legalistic, but he knows. He has morality himself. He's been being trained that honesty is a good quality, and so it is his conscience, I think, maybe eating at him, but we'll find out in the next. So the next one, we're going to read 6 through 10 of the Messenger.
6 through 10.
6 through 10. Go all the way to the end of 10. Just wait. And so
Sorry.
that's it. So we hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah.
We hope you guys had a good time. And we'll go live again if this worked well. We will go live again from 9 to 10 next Friday. And then I'm also recording it so that we can put it onto YouTube. And that way we have a backup.
The darn computer thing, YouTube thing.
Yes.
Darn computer machine.
So we will be live all the way through May and June for the last 2 books of Messenger and Son. And we hope you join us.
Bye.